The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey, good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? It's Mike. It is 8. Give me a minute to grab a drink and we'll get running here. I do believe there was an issue tonight, so a lot of people may not have been able to get in. AJD, how are you? So just giving you a heads up. Thanks, Simon. So usually we're well over 100. There's only 20 here. I'm understanding there's been an issue tonight with it. I'm going to run it anyway, so don't worry about that. Chris, yeah, we could do a drinking game tonight. Sounds good. I don't know about you guys, but I can't believe tomorrow's only Wednesday. To me, it feels like we've already had a whole week in the first 2 days. So give me 1 minute to grab a glass of water, and I'll be back, and we'll get this started. How's that sound? All right, I'm back. So should we get this started? Good evening, good evening, good evening. It's a little after 8 on Tuesday the 5th. This is Mike Pisani for Alpha Shark. And tonight, guys, I think it is Chris. I'm not supposed to record these anymore, but I do them anyway, so you know how that goes. You know how I am. I want to talk to you guys about setting up for the year-end run, and I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that are just, you got caught up in the action of the last week and a half, right? Just so you know, myself, and I don't think most of the people that subscribe to my service did, because we were getting out of harm's way going through Thanksgiving week and started lightening up, especially in tech going into last week. We weren't really trading it. And that said, not get it caught. We didn't get caught much in this at this point because kind of, there was reasons for that, and we'll go over them. But I want to talk to you about, this is actually good to set up a year-end run at this point. So if you want to get a hold of me outside of here, you want to have a conversation with me, you want to learn more about what I do, you can get me at email at mike@alphashark.com, on Twitter at optionsmike. If you guys don't follow me, you should. I post tons of stuff out there for free. I put free videos up, and when the markets are kind of going awry, I usually do a free video. I'll just come live stream and talk to you guys about what's going on. And with that said, you should also subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/optionsmike, because it'll let you know when I'm going live there as well. But I do post that on Twitter. All right. So, come on. There we go. Risk disclaimer. Day trading, short-term trading, options trading, and futures trading are extremely risky undertakings. They generally are not appropriate for someone with limited capital, little or no trade experience, and or low tolerance for risk. Never execute a trade unless you can afford to and are prepared to lose your entire investment. All trading operations involve serious risk, and you can lose your entire investment. No trades are recommendations or advice, and we cannot be sued for losses of capital. All trades are for educational purposes only. Contact your broker, RIA, for executions, margin, and or other capital requirements. Everyone watching presentation adheres to all risk disclaimers on optionhacker.com, alphashark.com, and me, myself, Mike Pisani. So what do we have tonight? So I want to talk to you guys about how to look at the year-end run. By the way, I'm going to treat this more as a little bit of a workshop. You guys are going to have to be interactive here. So I hope you guys are all awake, and if you're drinking, every time you guys screw up, I'll have you guys take a drink. How's that sound? We'll go over our market sentiment. Institutional flow, maybe. Talk about that one briefly. My service offering, then we can go over charts and look at stuff we want to look at based upon some of the conversations we have tonight. So I hope that sounds good to everybody out there. And let's get going. So 2017, guys, to be the year that was, and it's not going to be long now, right? We have just over 3 weeks to go. So with a little over 3 weeks to go, it's been kind of a crazy year. The year without a Santa Claus? Well, this will be known as the year without a pullback. We have not had a 3% pullback now since the election. If you're like me and you like to deploy heavily into pullbacks, you're probably frustrated beyond belief because we haven't gotten them. And if you like to play the downside, you're also pulling your hair out. Because I know a lot of shorts that have just gotten wrecked this year trying to short this thing are now just tepid about shorting it. That said, if you missed out and you haven't had a good year or a great year, This is not the time of year to try to make it all back. This time of year tends to get choppy. We tend to go a lot of sideways action. There's action in individual names, but generally it's not the type of year to deploy heavily into. Kind of gets a little rough here for the next 3 weeks. Bitcoin and cryptos are heading mainstream. I know, if you're not trading them right now, we've been talking about them. Everybody's talking about them nonstop. Bitcoin futures begin trading this Sunday, a week earlier than they said they were going to. So here's a question for you guys. Where do you think all this money is coming out of tech might be going here? Where do you think all this money coming out of the market? You think it's an accident that we're selling off the week before we go into Bitcoin trading and futures? Hedge the Bitcoin. Or are they getting ready to trade Bitcoin? They want to have more resources available for it, Chris. Raising cash. Right? The only real way to trade Bitcoin right now, unless you're on one of the few exchanges that can do it, is through that horrific ETF. By the way, that was it GBTC or GT, whatever it is, that thing does not correlate to, right? We were talking about that today in the chat room. That thing does not correlate to Bitcoin at all. You guys need to be real careful trading that. There probably will be some ETFs out on Bitcoin in the not too distant future. Here's the issue you're going to have. Bitcoin's open 24/7, and ETFs aren't. That means these guys love to trade Bitcoin over the weekend because they got nothing better to do. And you can walk into some nasty surprises on Monday morning. So just put that in the back of your mind. So that's a lot of the stuff that was the year to beat. Anybody have anything they want to add to that? They want to throw in? Feel free. All right. So let's talk about catalysts to be long. I have some. Good one, Pete. New Fed chair appointed. Thank you. Perfect. I forgot all about that one. Excellent point. We'll put that in there. This way, if anybody watches on replay, they'll see it. Do we think it's going to be any better? Okay, could be. But I like that. Thank you. Good one. Perfect. All right. So catalysts to be long. What are some catalysts to be long over the next 3 weeks? Told you this was a workshop, guys. Tax law. Okay. How do you mean that? You mean completion of the tax law? I'll go with that. How about we call it tax bill reconciliation? James, Fed, right? Fed meeting next week. Good one. I had that. Rate raise. So I'm going to say no FM on the government shutdown avoided because I don't think the market's worried about it too much here. As long as it doesn't happen, I don't think it's cares. I don't think that's a catalyst to be long. Does that make sense? If the market was reacting to it, I think it would be bad. What else? Don, thank you. Year-end markup, or otherwise known as what? See who's paying attention. What's the year-end markup? Window dressing. Santa Claus rally. Chris wins. Congratulations. Santa Claus rally. It's exactly right. Santa Claus rally. Here's your bonus thing. When does the Santa Claus rally start? Neither can I, Chris. Don't feel I can't type or spell. It makes for a horrible combination. So when is the Santa Claus rally supposed to start? Bonus question. Negative, hearing. Negative. But that's a nice date. The Santa Claus rally technically starts the day after Christmas. And it's the week between there and New Year's. Most people don't know that. Making this week, if we do have a Santa Claus, this year, if we do have a Santa Claus rally, very, very short. as we're closed on Christmas, which is Monday, and I'm not sure, but the 30, I don't think it is. I think we have a full day on the 29th. Yeah, we do have a full day on the 29th, but it's a 4 days. Nope, not all December. The real official thing is the last week. That doesn't mean it doesn't start earlier sometimes, but that's when everybody looks. That's when the window dressing comes in, right? That's what they're doing. They're coming at that point and they're marking up the winners. All right, it's that little joke we all love so much. Oh, let me show you that I had all these great positions in my portfolio at the end of the quarter, but I didn't make the returns that I should have made because I had them. All right, so that's you guys put. Hey, guess what? Look what I had. Good job, guys. Very well. This is what I was looking at. Okay, catalyst to be short. What do you guys got? See if you guys are paying attention. Debt ceiling. Exactly. That is definitely catalyst to be short. Tax loss selling, that's usually the last day of the year, Simon, but yeah, possible. I'll go with that one. What else? North Korea. Good one. Korean Rocketman, yep. Fake news. Um, I'll put that. I was thinking a little bit more differently there, but go ahead. And yeah, it did happen on Friday. Mueller. There you go. Let's call it Trump caught in Russian probe. Trump and cuffs works too. I have one more I was thinking of. You guys hit on it on the other side. Nope. Nope. Rate hike's a good thing. Well, I got actually a couple more. Go ahead. How about Fed doesn't raise rates, Pete? Right? What happens if the Fed doesn't raise rates next week? What do you think is going to happen to the banks that have been holding us up and everything? I'm not saying I expect that. I'm saying what if they don't, right? We're coming up with ideas and things here. Yep, they come down hard. I got one other one. Yep. How about tax reform reconciliation fails? You know, what happens if the House and the Senate just cannot come together? There are doubts. Again, I'm not looking to say any of these are going to come to pass. I'm just trying to point out what we have to keep our eyes on for the next month, right? Just to try to get everybody, make sure we're all thinking in the right direction here, looking at what can happen. All right, let's see what I had written down here. You guys got more than me. So I had, Fed doesn't raise rates, tax bill falls apart during reconciliation, Trump probe, Russia probe reaches him. We want to add one more thing here. What happens if I didn't hear the results today? What happens if he has to go to a deposition on his sexual misconduct hearing that's coming out? I didn't hear there was the ruling today. There was supposed to be one from the high courts. Just out of curiosity. North Korea blows up, literally. Debt ceiling issues, right? So these are some pretty good fake news. These are some pretty good type lists, right? So where are we going to look here to the end of the year? In general, they're going to mark up the names that are strong. The names that have been weak are better candidates for 2018, right? They may see some play in individual names, but for the most part, they're not going to mark up the weak names here. It's just how this works out. So where are we looking to go now? Throw out some ideas and I'll bring up my list. So where would you that? With this said, what do you guys think you should be looking at to buy when we get a clear signal here in the markets? And by the way, today was definitely not a clear signal day. Today was anything but a clear signal. Home Depot, good one, Pete. I didn't come up with that one. Banks, yes. Industrials, okay, possibly. Boeing, good name, Don. So, Micron, question mark. Why do you got a question mark, Pete? There's a good reason to have a question mark there. I like Facebook, LMT, Knock, JD. Those are also good names. There's a good reason to have a question underneath the Micron. Microsoft. What does Micron have coming up? Earnings. That's exactly it. So let's look at some of the ones I put. Banks, 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 more banks, right? It's one of the only sectors that's still seeing big institutional flow. The ones that are seeing the most are Bank of America, Wells Fargo Chase, and JP Morgan. By the way, Wells Fargo Chase call buying was off the hook today, all day. Yep, AT&T Visa running. How about the transports that suddenly woke back up? UPS, Federal Express, the rails. Have you guys looked at some of these charts? They've been on fire. My mistake was I tweeted out the day before we should all be looking at UPS and FedEx, and I didn't buy. And the next day, by the time I got around to looking at it, it was gone. Yep, safety trades. How about Select Tech? How about names that have been strong? You guys had Microsoft up there, Apple, Amazon, NVIDIA, right? Intel, Adobe. How about Cisco now? Micron. We got to wait for earnings, but if earnings are good, they'll come running back to that. We already started seeing them buying it back today in the options market. How about names you guys already pointed out come? How about names like GM and Walmart? Have you guys looked at Walmart's chart? That thing is a thing of beauty right here. You guys said HD, right? Boeing, great one. Give me some other ones. Let's look back at what you guys put. LMT, Knock, great names. Apple's already up there. DG, Dollar Tree. Oh, I don't know about those, Don. Those scare me a little bit. XTX, maybe. Although that whole sector, you got to be a little careful with that, I think. It's very volatile here. I'm looking for safer trades, but yeah. Cat, good one. There's a good one. I know Chris loves Cat. Right? And one other thing I'm going to tell you guys, KR, keep an eye on energy. Energy is trying to come. Costco, another good one. Energy is trying to make a comeback. You know, it's a tougher one because it's not been running. But if oil keeps going up, they're not going to wait on those names, right? They're going to go after them. So we'll see. I know API numbers tonight where there was some volatility in oil. I lost track of it. How about some things that we should avoid? And we're just going to make this easy. Better be careful with. Retail. Even though retail looks to be a big winner in tax reform, it's been beaten up. So XRT, Macy's, Target, they may not want to mark these up. They might want to hit them one more time before they buy them for next year, right? How about biotech? I've been talking, we've all been looking for bounces in this. We're just not seeing it except in select names. Biotech, exactly here. Gilead, Celgene can't get going. VRX had a nice run recently. I'd be hard pressed to buy it tomorrow. Yeah, just so you guys know, there is there is in the Senate version of the plan, there is repealing Obamacare in the tax plan. I don't know how that's going to play out. I know Trump was tweeting about it today. All right, so stick with what's working over the next month. Stick with where they're going. You'll see it. You'll know it. If you guys follow somebody like myself or somebody who knows options out there, they're going to tell you where that money's going. Hearing it's they have repeal of Obamacare in there, which is just wild, off the hook. Strange. Don't ask me how they got that in. I have no idea. All right. So, end of the year, guys. We need a signal first, right? We don't just start buying, but watch the banks. If the banks are going to be any good, they're going to hold not too far from here. And they're going to start running before the Fed next week, right? The banks generally like to go. They like to run. So we'll watch that for next week, right? Maybe even the end of this week. And if the banks start going again, they'll lift the IWM and the SPY with it. The Qs, you got to watch the big names in there. Watch the big guys. Watch the guys that are holding in. Watch the Amazons. Watch the Apples and Facebooks. Keep an eye on these guys. If they turn, they'll go. Also, Netflix, you have a flip of a coin here. What are they going to do in the next week or so that's going to affect Netflix? I'll tell you what, anybody who's not in my service that can tell that one to me gets a free month. So what vote's coming up that's going to impact Netflix? James, you win. James, you send me a email and I'll give you a free month in my service. You got my email. There you go. That's exactly it. Nope, it's net neutrality, guys. You're very welcome. Thanks for coming and paying attention. If they vote down net neutrality, Netflix is probably going to run and explode hard and fast. If they keep net neutrality in place, it's going to run. If they take it out, we've already seen people like Comcast has come out and said they're going to create preferred pipes that you have to pay for. That means they're going to be charging the people who use the bandwidth the most more. That means Netflix. Guess what? That means Netflix has to do what again? They have to raise rates or their profitability is going to go down. So we're seeing lots of issues like that. The Disney for Fox deal, Pete, is interesting to me. That could affect it. The one little caveat there that nobody realizes is that Disney owns, I think, roughly a third, 30% of Hulu. Fox owns 30% that they're going to get in this deal. That would make them a 60% holder in Hulu. Pretty interesting there, right? That is definitely a potential danger to Netflix at that point. The other 30, there's one more player that has 30%, and I can't remember who it is, guys. I'm sorry, I'm a little tired. It was a big company, though. It was somebody like Comcast, but I don't think it was Comcast. And then the rest is owned by smaller guys. I don't think it was SoftBank either here, and I'm going to have to go look at it. I have to go find it. But anyway, I was really shocked when I went looking at that. I actually went looking for that, and that's what I found out. All right. So, sentiment. Let's get into our normal stuff here. You guys have any questions on where we're heading for the end of the year or how we're looking at it? We're going to go over the charts and keep going over this for the rest of the night. Any questions on anything we talked about? Right. If we could get a better pullback here, we're going to set up nicely for a run here. I just don't know how much we're going to get. That said, tonight's close, real weak. Got to like that. So sentiment. One of the things that's had me very cautious this week and into last week is there's it is Comcast here. Thank you. Okay, it was Comcast. Okay. That's interesting, right? That's just going to make it really interesting there. So there's been lots of divergences in the market here, which is screaming to me, be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful. Doesn't mean short the hell out of everything, but it means careful. Right now, feed and greed index is back up to 63. It's down a little bit in the last week or so, not much. But, people are still pretty much bulled up right here, and they're more in danger of missing out than getting caught. And this is where you have to start looking at things. This same fear got them all caught in that tech sell-off the other day, last week. Stock Twitch is having some issues, but you can see here that bullish-wise, the SPY is at 62%, the Qs are at 69%, and the IWM is at 63% sentiment. They're all bullish. These things are still, people are bulled up here. This time of year, people are thinking bullish. They're thinking nothing but buy, right? We don't like it when they're thinking bullish. We bet it's better when they're getting bearish because that's when they come in and they squeeze them. So we're not set up for a squeeze here. I will tell you, there's not a lot of shorts in the market right now. We need to get some weakness to get some more shorts in. There's some in tech. That helped. But we could use them on some of the other sectors here. The oscillators, I posted this last night, they've come in a little bit since last night, are still not in a great place for us here. At least they're finally both negative. So the NYMOT, which is the New York Stock Exchange, finally went negative today at negative 13. I typically say a good signal to reverse is negative 200. A great signal is negative 300. You can see how hard we've been pressed just to get to negative 200 this year, right? So at least we're negative here. The NAMOT, which is the NASDAQ, we dropped to negative 52 today on the weakness. So it was good to see that despite some bounce and rallying in the tech names today, the weakness continued overall there. If we could get to negative 200, that would be a wonderful thing. I don't have a lot of hope here. That said, what the oscillators are saying, what the market's saying is here, if they decide to really sell things off, we could drop. We're not anywhere near type of oversold conditions anywhere or extended down. So the VIX. By the way, Friday's VIX spike was unreal. My hedge, I was talking to people I was actually modding at the time, worked to perfection. Kept my account exactly where it was supposed to be through that whole entire move. But then again, look at that massive wick we got on it. And now since then, the VIX is just, today they sold it off, it came back, and then they sold it again with 5 minutes to go into the close, even with the massive selling into the end of the day. They just do not seem to believe in volatility. They just want nothing to do with it. Someday this is going to catch them all with their pants down. But for now, this is what we're dealing with, and volatility keeps getting sold off. The Qs, which have been leading us down. This morning, what I was hoping for was we'd gap down, go down, and hit the 50-day around 150.73. Unfortunately, the weakness, I woke up at 6 o'clock. We were down about 0.48% in the Qs. I was all excited. And by the time I got myself up, got my coffee, and started looking at things a little after 7, we had already started to rally, and I was already starting to groan. But that said, the last 2 days, we opened up green and have sold off. So just be aware, green open, usually, if we want a good close, we probably need a red open now. Right now, we're selling strength. This is a little bit different than we've been doing. Since that big Dow candle last week, Qs have not been able to really get above the 8-day. So, we gapped above it. That was the only reason we got above it on Monday. We gapped above it and sold that off. Today, moved up, sold off, and came back down below it. SPX is cooling off here. And this is why it's hard to get bearish, guys, and the divergences, right? The Qs through the 8, through the 21-day, bottom of the Bollinger Band. The SPX only to the 8-day. Big difference here, right? Look at the RSI on the left corner there. This SPX RSI is at 64. This cooled it off. The Qs are all the way down under 50. IWM cooled off fast. Those are two big engulfing candles. Came in hard, closed on the lows both days. See where we go from here. If the IWM wants to remain strong, you want it to close tomorrow above the breakout, which is the blue line right there around 150.50, give or take. Right? The 21 days just below it's right there. That would say something good. Peter, that's the question. And to me, the answer is in the banks. If the banks remain strong, I think we're okay. If the banks get hit, I think we're going to see some issues in the SPX. Here's your 8-day. The SPX could sell all the way down to 26.0, let's call it 26.01, and still be strong and above the 21-day, Peter. Make sense? Pete, great. You can see the 21 days there. If it went down to there, it would just retest where it broke out, and that would create some nice setups there. The IWM's almost to that area already, and the Qs are already through it. So, again, we have divergences here. It's a little hard. All right, when we see divergences, we get small. We play more carefully. So, my open positions coming into tonight. I have my hedge on my VXX March 50 calls. I have ILG 31 calls for March buyout. My common positions, my Bank of America, I sold. I traded it, took it, sold it, took it in strength, sold it. I did add AMD. It's very red. I added it into blood. I was hoping that would turn. It hasn't yet. I'm okay with that. Netflix, I'm in the Jan 205 calls. I did not intend to stay in that the other day. I had a nice profit. I put a stop in. They blew through that last week on that tech sell-off. They did not honor my stop, and I got trapped, and I'm trying to hold here with the hopes that I I can add aggressively and trade out of it yet. Not where I want to be there. To be perfectly honest with you. I'm sitting in January, Walmart January 100 calls small. I love the chart. It's holding in. In fact, it closed strong today. Twitter's another name that I'm still sitting in. I sold all my calls that were in the Jans. I'm now in March 23 calls, and that one also closed strong today. Other than that, I've been scalping. I did scalp Apple today for a nice trade, and I'm just taking it easy here and just taking it where I can find it. Institutional flow. I got none for you. And the reason I don't want to show you guys any tonight, option flow is not strong here at all. They keep buying the same names, but not working great. Names that have been strong lately are not the best setups, right? Just because they're buying calls all day long in Wells Fargo Chase doesn't mean you want to be buying it where it is today, right? Look how much that thing's moved. We'll pull up a chart on it. Also, the names they've been buying lately, they've been selling off. Yesterday, if you look what they bought yesterday, they bought, come on, Chris, help me out. They bought FCX, they bought CMI, they bought Merck, they bought CMG. All of them got obliterated today. They opened and were down. Most of them were down before they even opened, and they got hit. It's making it very tough to hold flow right now or to buy when they do it, other than just for trades, for day trades. So I don't want to give you guys anything that's going to lead you guys in the wrong direction here. Okay, so we're going to do my service offering, then we're going to go into charts and start looking at stuff. So what do? Guys, I do every day, I do unusual option activity. I do mentoring and daily recaps. So Monday through Friday, I do a video at the end of every day, usually just before the market closes, so you guys have it for the close, talking about what the day's action looked like, what the best option flow was, and what still looks good and tradable at that point. Every morning now I do a morning setups video delivered by 8:30. Top ideas and trade ups setups for the day. We go over open interest every morning as well and put that out there on the private Twitter feed. This is all delivered via private Twitter. And every Thursday I do a webinar for my subscribers. It's 6 o'clock, anywhere from half hour to an hour, depending on what's going on. And it's your ability to ask me any kind of questions, go over anything you're seeing, or have any questions about trading or anything along those lines. On my real-time private Twitter feed, I do option flow all day long. Any news that's going on, I'll post charts if I see something, and I'll do news, market updates, anything that seems to be going on in all my trades, exits and entries get posted there real time. So if you're interested in that, you can sign up by going to alphashark.com/bestcoaching. First month is $49. It renews at $99 a month. Guys, $49 is cheap, even $100. You guys, I put so many ideas out there and so many things. Every morning I try to give you, at least 5 or 6 different setups that look good. Sometimes I'll even look at shorts depending on what's going on. By the way, just so you know a little about me, I rarely try to short a strong bull market, especially when the names I'm looking at are above the 21 day. That's just how I trade. So I'm not looking to short a lot up here. That said, if I think we're going to sell, I do have some names we're going to talk about tonight that I would be number 1 on my list. So if you guys are interested, please give me a sign up there. And lastly, if you guys are struggling or you want to learn how to trade better or learn how I trade, I do mentoring. So, for an hour, we can go over your trades, what you've been doing, what I see you may or may not be doing wrong. I've helped a bunch of people on that. You can go to my website, smartoptiontrading.com. There's testimonials up there. I've taught people how to trade options. I've taught people how to do technical trading, right? Some people don't understand technical. So, exits and exits matter. Showing people where to buy and how to buy is very helpful. And so this is something I offer to people out there. If you're interested in it, send me an email at mike@smartoptiontrading.com or hit me up on Twitter with a direct message at optionsmike. So that means we're at your point of the night for the last 20 minutes or so, your charts. And let's go over charts and take a look at stuff that's out there. And unless you guys have any questions first, anything you want to ask, let's go into it. So let's start off with a couple of mine, and we'll go into yours. So you guys start typing any charts you want to look at. XLF up here, right? The fins. So we would, if for a good entrance here, see how RSI is heated? We would like to see this thing come down and fill this gap. If it was to fill this gap and the 8-day comes up, that could make for a much better entrance than chasing it up here. I was telling everybody, do not chase this 2 days ago, yesterday. You not chase this thing out of the Bollinger Bands, up this high, this far extended off the 8-day. It's going to come in. I would love to see it come back in a little bit more now. And then if it's going to be good, it'll run back up probably to this 2820 area before the Fed decision on Wednesday. That's what I would look for if the market's going to hold in. That said, if we go lower than this gap, you need to be aware. That's not a good sign. And by lower, I mean a close, right? I'm always talking about closes, right? We don't want to close below it. And if you're looking for the names that we should be looking at, the ones they want the most, Bank of America. Come on. There we go. All right, looks very similar. This is the one they've been buying today. They were hitting the April, was it the April 31s? I think it was the April 31s they were hitting all day. That was their new strike du jour, the April 31 calls, right? This one, a little gap here, could fill it, look good. And today's one, the other one they were after all day long was Wells Fargo Chase. Right? Look at that move today. Right? Finally playing catch up to a 52-week high with the rest of the banks. It's one of the ones that's been lagging. Warren Buffett is big this name. This is the way they had all those issues. If these issues behind it, this one could play some big-time catch-up here. So these are the two they seem to want the most here. JP Morgan, Citi, they've had their big runs, although JP Morgan, they keep buying way out of the money calls, and it keeps working. Right? So these are some good ones to look at from the long side. Some of the names you guys brought up. Home Depot. Chris, great name. Huge gap up. Overheated beyond belief here. Keeps going, right? But at this point, still looks good. See how far it wants to go into this gap. Does it want to fill this gap? Let it fill it. If you're really good at shorting, take a quick short on it. Let the 8-day catch up. This thing loves the 8-day. When it's above it, stay with it. All right, good place to try. UPS. All right. Look at this move. Called it out here on this day. Look at this. 1, 2. Beautiful move all the way up to 125. Finally coming back in. And the reason I was calling this out, look how bad this looked. And here, this was logic, guys. If Amazon and everybody's buying everything online, how can this come in? How could this not go up? How could the transports, FedEx and UPS, not go up at that point? If online sales for over the Black Friday weekend and Cyber Monday were through the roof, how could these stocks not benefit from it? Logic, right? We're going to get to all your names. Don't worry, we've got time. What else do I want to show you? Walmart. Why am I staying with Walmart? Look at this beautiful chart. Gap up, came in, and is riding the 8-day. Every time it hits it, it bounces off of it. Look how it closed today. It's going to need volume, but it gets through this 98 area. It's going to go and go right back to that 100, maybe higher. So this is something. Keep an eye on it. It wants to go. All it's doing here is consolidating and cooling off. Just consolidating and cooling off. Let everything catch up. Let the moving averages catch back up. It's had a big run. That's all it's doing. The fact that through the weakness the last week or so, it's held the 8-day. Even on Friday, when everybody got tagged, it held the 8-day. Didn't get much below it. It's pretty impressive. Excuse me a second. My throat is a little off. What else? Let's look at Amazon. Why Amazon here? Yep, here I'm looking for a breakout box. Why it? Because it's holding in better than most of the names until yesterday. Yesterday got hit hard, but still holding the 21-day and holding this area. It's nowhere near the gap, right? This was its earning gap all the way down here at 1,052. It's nowhere near it. It's holding in much better up in here. Right now for me, this one still has a go-to potential status. The one thing I'm going to tell you right now is the options on these names are juiced. I don't know if you looked at the options in the weeklies and even next week's on this. They're very, very expensive right now. The IV has been raised, and they've jacked up the option costs because they don't know. So another one that has it. Boeing was one I want to talk about before, Don, so thank you. We'll go to that, and then we'll come to some of these other names you guys are putting up. Boeing, beautiful consolidation, right? Huge move, consolidated, moved again, grinded higher, and now been consolidating, moved up high. Here, it looks good. How much higher can it go? The only thing you got to be careful here with this one is last year, a year ago, this thing was trading at $1.46. This thing's almost doubled. You got to be careful with that at this point. That said, it's riding the 8-day through all this. If you get a connection with the 8-day, I would try to play it for a bounce off of that right then and there. All right, your names now. Let's go looking some of them. Comcast Flow. Shopify. What is Shopify's symbol, guys? You got to give me a ticker here. I don't remember the symbols all the time. Is it shop? Yeah, shop. Okay, so when I look at shop, first thing I see is it's coming into the 200-day. If you're not long it, your first place to try it would be off the 200-day, right? Because off the 200-day, institutions usually come in and try to defend it, at least initially. The other thing is you have this, it's a sloppy channel here. You have a channel, which is below here. So your next area could be all the way down around 88. It stopped right here at the bottom of this area today. Not a pretty looking chart. I'd be a little careful with it here. That said, if I got a hit to the 200-day and it held it, I would give it a try off of there. Micron, Qualcomm, and all them, you got it. So Micron, remember where we came from this year. First thing we look at, all the way back here from 19 to 50, right? More than doubled. We've now given back the last portion of this move, and we are now holding the bottom of that move, right? That's where we stopped, right here. You can see it lines up perfectly right there on it. So this is your point of reference. If we hold here, you can go long versus it. If you lose this, the next spot is you got to look down towards the 100-day, which is down quite a bit further. The good news is RSI is getting oversold. Notice CMF indicator. Money's still staying with this. It hasn't quite left it yet. So with earnings coming, I would look for some. This would be one of the names I'd look to go to on a bounce. So when we start turning, Pete, this is a name I like. I would look to play this for a bounce at that point. Qualcomm, to me, at this point, is nothing but a buyout play. You got to be real careful with this one, Pete. This is all over speculation. They're going to get bought out by Broadcom. You know, if that doesn't happen, look out. This thing's going to come crashing down. So I'd be careful. I'd be a little careful with this. So technically at this point, it's irrelevant. If you want to be in it, I think they are playing the 70s last I saw in different strikes. SMH, semi ETF. Yeah, well, and the other problem is they're also doing with stock and money in stock. The semis ETF, I mean, this is just getting beat up because of everything going on. The sector lost a 50-day. They've been buying puts on it left and right. It is not a very good name to trade with options because they're not very liquid. You're going to have to probably watch this one. This should be the area they come back to. You know, if they come back to these semis, this thing's going to bounce and can quickly run back up here. The problem is they've sold off a lot of these names big. So I'd watch the individual names instead of watching the ETF. And if you see names like NVIDIA and AMD and Intel and Avgo and Micron start to turn, you can then play this if this is where you want to play. And we did the SPY already, Pete. We went over the SPX. Boeing, Facebook. Facebook, they've been trying to bounce this all week. They're playing weekly options yesterday and today. This is the one I actually almost bought this one this morning, ended up only buying Apple instead. What I don't like about it here is it's lost the 8 and the 21-day and the 50-day. And if you look today, it got to the 50-day and that was it. Could not hold it. Today we went down below the 100-day. This one's showing a lot of weakness here at this point. So I think you got to be careful here. Okay, yeah, that's a good one, Chris. Yeah, you can use SOXL for that. So you got to be careful. This is a good area for it to held. You know, the reason it held there, they came in, they defended it here. It's got to get back above some of these moving averages quickly for me. It's right at the bottom of the Bollinger Band here. So this is a name, if it can't hold, probably going to go lower. Microsoft, they got taken to town the last couple of days. but not as bad. So Microsoft is a name here, right? We lost the gap. We lost the gap yesterday on that down move. Today, right, we tried to bounce, got to the 21-day and failed and came back down. So if you like to be short and we have weakness, you can try to short this first to the 50-day, right? And then for a gap fill down to 78. So this is a name you can look there. If they start to bounce the markets, this is a name you can try to go back to here. We'd rather have seen it held the gap. If it was going to be strong, we would rather have seen it held the gap. The fact that it gave it up so bad, a little bit concerning here. All right, we did shop, right? Thank you, shop, shop, shop. Starbucks, they were buying weekly calls yesterday on this. So there it goes. You had your breakout yesterday. You got some continuation today. I would not chase it here above the Bollinger Band this far off the 8-day, right? Look at this, it's 59.31-ish, and the 8-day is all the way down at 57.90. Don't want to chase. That said, this was your point of reference right here. It broke above here. I'd like to see it go sideways, let the moving averages catch up, and then see if you can get a push up to 60, let's call it roughly 60.50. A name, if they want to keep strong, staying with it, just be aware it's been a weak name most of the year. They may not hold it to the end of the year. PXD. Yesterday they were trying to bounce on Friday some of the oil names. Yeah, a nice little wedge here. You're absolutely right about that. All right, you got a little wedge. Like that. Trying to break above it, and the 200-day is your resistance. Well, I don't really trade Forex. I wouldn't want to give you any information there. I don't understand it. I don't trade it, so you're asking the wrong person to give you information there. I do trade the ETFs once in a while, but I don't trade the Forex itself. All right, so you have a nice little wedge building here. If oil is strong and energy goes, you pop above here, your next area is up here. That would be a nice little move. You're saying 174, huh? I don't know. Maybe that's a big move. Big move there, Aaron. I would look first for this top of these candles up here around 150, 156 area. I'm sorry, 166. PXD, Forex, VLO. All right. Valero has been on fire. One of the energy has been strong. This is one they're probably not going to want to sell into the end of the year. Look at today, weak market. It was strong. All right. I think Hal is the same way. Hard to buy it up here. I don't know if I'd initiate, but it's holding the 8-day through this. So I would try buying it off the 8 days, right? Nice move. Pull back to the 8-day, reignite it off of it. That means money still wants it. CMF's up there. This is a good looking chart. Don, I would stick with this one. If I was still in it, I would just trim and trail at this point. And if I wasn't, I'd try buying it off the 8-day. URA. Uranium. Well, Rocket Boy could be trying to secure it. Honestly, well, broke out, broke above here, big candle, nice volume on this candle, by the way. So, whenever you have a chart like this, guys, you do not initiate up here, right? Let the moving average catch up. Every time you get a candle like this, it pulls back to the 8-day, right? So if you're not in it yet, wallet, let it pull back to the 8-day. And then initiate there. If you're in it, I would, I don't know where you're in it from, but I would try to give it some room here, but it's probably, look for a reconnect with the 8-day to get into it. Kroger. So yeah, that was the other area we saw this last week. We saw some of these names getting strong, the food stocks. Kroger beating up on the Amazon news, right? This is all Amazon with the Whole Foods market. Nice, forming a nice cup here. So it's basically filled this gap, rode up, created a new gap, and now it's flagging at the edge of this gap. It's a little heated, Don, but let the moving average gets up. If it comes into it, I would give it a shot. No reason why I can't go back into this gap some more here. So that's a name I'd keep an eye on. They may try to run this one up. I like it. I want to show you a couple other things while I'm here. I'll come back to your McDonald's in a second, Don. I haven't forgotten. Google, right? What did this do? Weak. Just about filled this whole entire gap, right? So need to be careful here. This one showed today, bounced $35 today and then came all the way back in. So you're getting a lot of wild action in this one here, right? Look at that. Bounced to the 821 day and failed and came back down right on the 50-day here. But basically filled its earning gap. Doesn't look like Amazon, not showing anywhere near the same strength. McDonald's got a big upgrade today, Don, right? They got a big target boost, bringing back the dollar menus. After yesterday's big engulfing down candle, gapped up, held it well. It's a tough name. It's a grindy type name, Don. I wouldn't be in a rush to buy it up here after this big move, but if it hit the 8-day, I'd give it a try here. If you're in it, I'd stay with it. The other name I want to point out that you just brought, maybe remember today. IBM. All right, a little weakness today. Nice run. Trying to get going here. I'd keep an eye on this one. Let it cool off. Reconnect with the 8-day. Try it again. This name's trying to build here. And it's different, right? They need to keep an eye on. Amazon. I think didn't we do Amazon already? Let me do it again. Pretty sure I went over Amazon already, but we'll go back to it. Amazon on the 21-day, better than most of the names in its sector, Kamal. This is go-to list for me right now. This looks a lot better. If it holds this area, I'd look for it to try to run back up as they market back up. It's also a seasonally strong time of year for it. Priceline. I didn't look at Priceline today. Usually I do. I like to look at Priceline to see what it's doing. So Priceline had a huge bounce, has lost the 8-day, which has now become resistance. So to me, if the market's weak, this is a name they'll sell back off. Look at money. Money's kind of coming out of it. This is also a good indicator and barometer of what the market's doing in general. If they're selling Priceline and the market is, look at the market. This is usually an indication big money is the only one that plays this. So watch this. If it gets weak, easily back down to 1,700 in a flash here and maybe lower. Until it retakes the 8-day, it's not a long for me. If it retakes the 8-day, then you can try to play it back up into this 1770 area. BABA for short. BABA, if I remember correctly, came right to the gap and stopped. Let's see if I'm right. Yeah. So BABA continues to hold this gap, right? See it, Don? So it's tough. It's definitely showing a change. It's oversold here at this point on RSI. It's just about there. It's lost 100-day now. Today it bounced to the 100-day, came back down. The 8 to 21 to 50. But it keeps holding this gap. This is your third hit on this gap. If it opens up strong tomorrow and it cannot get through the moving averages, Don, I would try to short it into there. All right, down to 160, 160. That said, if we gap down tomorrow and we open weak and it fills this gap, I would try to go long it because it'll be very extended and oversold at that point. Make sense? Tesla. So Tesla, this is a good one. Tesla had an ascending channel here. Broke it to the downside, lost the 8-day and just kept going down. Got back up here, created a new ascending channel here. What did it do here? It broke it. 8 days now become resistance, cannot get above it at this point. Also on Tesla, we have I've been talking about this for a bit. Oops, where is it? There it is. A head and shoulder top here with the neckline was roughly, where is it? It was right in here we were talking when I was talking about it for a while. The measured move of this brings it to 280. Look at that. 280 also lines up with that small little gap that hasn't filled yet. See it? And you got another little one below it. So Tesla, to me, until it proves otherwise, is a short. The only thing I worry about with Tesla is this thing's tough. This thing, they're defending 300 like mad the last couple sessions. So until this thing takes out 300 on volume, you got to be careful being shorted. That said, if it got back and closed above the 8-day, I would try to go long. Celgene, man, this thing just cannot get going. I've been trying to watch this one, and it just does not want to go. You have this gap here. Just give me something to draw with. I like to draw. I'm in a drawing mood. Yeah, that's good. So you have this gap right here, right, at 108. This big gap. And it really was started down here. That's where it originally started. And it keeps trying to push in, and it keeps failing. And now it's lost the 8-day. The sector's out of play. IBB can't get going. Here, and I'm sorry. I took a hit on it too, a small hit on it as well, back on these days in here trying to get into the gap. I just, this was best in breed, and now this thing's gone from 146 to 100. You got to be careful here. Something's not right. They don't want it. They're not coming back after it. Big money continues to sell it. Gap's juicy. I'd love to play for it, but until they show me some commitment to it, I just can't. So first, it's got to get above the 8-day, the 21-day, and it's got to get into this area. That said, it's getting tight. The Bollinger Bands are tightening up. When they tighten up, we generally can get a big move. Given its state here, I'm hoping to get a big move to the upside. Let's see. It's 3 minutes left, so I'm going to rapid fire a couple real quick for you guys. We're going to go over Netflix. Netflix, to me, is all about net neutrality, Don. We talked about that at length. That said, this day it faked everybody out. Huge move, woke up, and then you got this. And to me, it's just going lower here. It's one of the worst names in the sector here at this point. If it's going to go lower, if net neutrality gets repealed, I think it's going to drop to 168 possibly, Don. I mean, you can see a big ride down here. If net neutrality does not get repealed, I think this thing runs quickly back to 200, maybe even up to 202 or higher. That's my thoughts on Netflix and NVIDIA. Real quick, it'll be the last one tonight, guys. NVIDIA, which has been the darling all year, is showing some signs of exhaustion up here. It tried to bounce. By the way, if you guys didn't notice this morning, it was the first one to bounce. It bounced fast. It was also the first one to start selling off this afternoon again when the sell started. So that being said here, it's on the 100-day. This is a good place to give it a try. It's given back this recent big move it had in it. We have Micron earnings coming. I don't think they're done with this name yet, although money has definitely left it at this point. I do think this will be one of the names they do try to mark up into the end of the year. All right, but wait for it. Look for a good reversal candle to get into that one. Guys, it's my pleasure. I have one more webinar before the end of the year. It'll be on the 21st. In the meantime, you guys ever have questions or anything, hit me up on Twitter. I usually answer anybody there on their own anyway. And give my service a shot. I think you'll find it works really well, and you're going to make a lot of money. Chris, see you in the AM. Everybody else, have a wonderful evening. Enjoy the holidays. Hey, be careful tomorrow. Let the action dictate what to do. Best scenario, we get a nice gap down and somewhere to go really nice and long against. Have a good night, guys. Have a great one. Talk to you soon.